Oh, we're live.
Oh man,
We're doing it.
Yeah.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're now experts on everything.
No. We are experts of nothing.
Yeah.
Don't fool anybody.
Don't heed our advice. Just take it with a grain of salt.
We know nothing, and we're just
We're
going.
here to articulate that.
But yeah, so it was really different. The first time. Oh, by the way, to anybody that may ever listen to this ever, if that goes out, we're talking. I had a recent training session with an IFBB pro, and we hit some legs. Which, as you get to know me, you'll find out that legs is my favorite to train, specifically hamstrings and the posterior chain.
Brady loves the posterior chain.
Yeah, hip hinge for sure.
All about the posterior.
Anyway, so that's what we're talking about. But we started with hamstring curls, of course. Just some warm up stuff, and that was normal. That was like any other movement that I do or any other leg day. But then when we went to do RDLs, we, how we normally do like a 6 to 8 on our sets. We did 15s. We did it kind of straight setish. We did 3 sets of 15.
Okay.
But really, it was more of just like 3 sets of failure.
Like shooting for 15.
Yeah, it was like we're gonna try and get 15. And it was cool. It was cool to kind of keep up with that. My first set, I did 16, and I think I could have done a couple more.
Yeah.
It's so hard to go deep into a set like that with the mask on. But yeah, I think in not too long I could do it for 20.
Word.
If I have like a good solid day, I could probably do it for 20.
What were you pulling?
315.
315?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when we were warming up, we had we did 1 plate warm up. I did 2 plates, and I only did 6 because I was just doing my normal warm up stuff. He goes, only 6? I'm like, we're still warming up. He's like, oh.
Yes.
He's like, how the hell do you RDL? I'm like, I'll do like 4 plates for 7, 8.
Yeah.
He's like, oh.
Okay. Yeah. Like in the back of his
yeah.
Oh, damn, all right.
I was like, oh, all right. This is gonna be a good session. I might hold my own here.
Yeah, like you instantly gained some respect there.
Yeah, it felt good. And then we stayed at 3 plates, and it was like, let's just rep it out. So my first set I did 16, my second set I did 14, and then my third set, which was weird. I haven't done 3 sets of anything in a super long time.
Yeah.
My third set I did like 11. Like I was fried.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but that was, dude, my glutes were like shot after that.
Yeah.
It was really cool. But my lower back wasn't shot.
Cool. Okay.
Because normally going like super heavy in that 6 to 8, my lower back starts to feel it. But the higher volume was really interesting. After that, we did hamstring curls again.
So you did ham curls, and then you went to those RDLs, and then you went back to ham curls?
Ham curls again. And
after?
Yeah.
Huh.
And the ham curls were insane. I mean, it was probably the highest volume set I've done ever in my life.
Yeah.
It was, it started single leg. And so you did 10 each leg single leg with 5-second negatives. And then after you'd done both legs, you did both legs together, and you did a 10-second hold on your first rep. And then and then we just repped it out until you couldn't, which ended up at your single leg weight ends up being like 40 reps.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was pretty wild.
Yeah,
Like,
it sounds like it.
It was a pretty wild workout. And then we moved to.
Everything was relatively high rep.
Yeah, it was a lot of high reps.
Okay. High set 2, or like did you go above 3?
No, we never really went above 3. Even sometimes 2, but we mostly stayed at 3.
Mm-hmm.
Most of our stuff, and then we did this version of like a glute ham raise, except we were on a lat pull down machine to hold our feet.
Okay.
And then we used a pole to help lower ourselves to the ground.
Yeah.
And then come back up.
Okay.
And so it's like,
I forgot what those are called. Shit. Yeah, I had the name for
I
it
don't
too.
know.
But those things are nice though.
Yeah, it was really hard.
Yeah.
My first set, I was done. Dude. Like I think I did maybe 10, and I think we were going for like 15 to 20.
Okay.
And so then we hooked a band around like the straight bar on the lat pull down.
Yep.
And so we hooked the band in, and then I was able to like kind of really focus on doing them right instead of not just falling over.
Yeah.
But it definitely extended the reps by a lot.
For sure.
But yeah, and then we just did some adductors, abductors kind of stuff.
Okay.
No
arms.
No arms.
Yeah.
Because I think his split is more like a bro split.
Yeah.
So yeah, he has like a ham leg day and then like a quad leg day, which is why we didn't do any quads or any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a little bit more body part split versus push pull.
Yeah. It sounds like his training mentality also might be somewhat bro-y as
I'm
well.
not sure.
Oh, Echo, stop.
Echo.
Not now.
Not now.
Embarrassing me. But like, did you find that his mentality was very like just go go go?
No. It seems like that because it was higher volume.
Mm-hmm.
But it was actually very calculated.
Okay.
He's a really smart guy. He has a really good background in all of it, and he knows what he's doing. So it was cool. It was less emphasis on tempo.
Yeah.
As much, we still paid attention to it and made sure we were doing good reps, but it was less counted kind of stuff. It was a little more feel based, I suppose.
Yeah.
We had some forced reps in there where, get everything you can out of it, especially with like when we got to the ham curls. The first part of it is very, very calculated. It was all very tempo based. And then once we got to both legs, it was just a burnout.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good mix of both. And, it was a good switch up from what we normally do,
Cool.
It was, instead of everything seeming so calculated to a T, it was kind of fun to get in there and just like rip some weight a little bit,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been a while since you've done something like that too. So
yeah,
I think it is kind of freeing.
Yeah, it's fun to get in and just like rip weight. It's just move stuff around, make it hurt. Make some noise every once in a while.
Yeah, push some heavy shit.
Yeah, exactly. And
did he have a logbook?
No, he didn't. Because I think what he's been doing with his training a lot is he's kind of playing around with different styles right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just to see what works. I think because he's also a coach, right? And we've talked about that. But I think he plays around with different splits and rep ranges and all that stuff a lot. Just one, to try it and see how it feels, and two, to see if it's something that could be implemented into someone else's training.
Yeah.
He does a good job being a coach for that. Just trying stuff out before giving it to someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's important to like try stuff and to like go outside of what you normally know and do. I think it's pretty important to do that
and just
too.
see what happens, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I was, God, like right before I decided to start working with Nick, I was already kind of training like Nick, but then I ran into this dude Diab, and then this is like when I pulled 315, like off, and you're like, whoa, I didn't know that. That was like when I just was training with Diab, and that was basically like we'd go in there, we'd fuck shit up, we'd push whatever we could, no logbook, didn't really matter.
Yeah.
It was very broy, but outside of, and I didn't really enjoy that side of things, like not really understanding like where I was in terms of like my training, if I was a rep up or a rep down, or like it was a little bit harder to gauge like if I was progressing or not. But it was freeing, and like just being able to go in there kind of and just try to put it all on the table.
Just enjoy your lift, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't like too stupid with it, obviously. Like I was still eating and I was sleeping, like, I was doing what I needed to. I was always very cautious about getting hurt too. Like I didn't want to get hurt, so I wasn't going to push myself to these to points where I definitely would have hurt myself, but definitely was pushing myself.
I would not have nearly enjoyed doing what we did if I hadn't built the background that I have now.
Yeah.
Like RDLing the way that we did would have been no fun if every rep that I tried to do was different.
Yeah.
Like it was cool because every rep 1 through 16 was exactly the same.
Yeah.
And so it was just like every rep was spot on, which gave me the most out of the training that we did. Right. And so I definitely think that building the background and understanding rep standardization and controlling your body through an entire movement and all of those little pieces that go into the training style that we normally do are crucial to being able to branch off and actually execute a different training style properly.
Yeah.
Right? Because there is something to be said for just going in and just fucking destroying it, right? Lots and lots of people have built amazing physiques that way. They just go in and they just rip shit.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. But I think you do have to have a background in learning how to rip shit properly.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, otherwise, you end up constantly injured all the time. Like I would have been messed up.
Yeah. If you were doing what you were doing, and you didn't already have that background, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's like that, dude. That's like totally something that I explain to a lot of my clients. It's like, a lot of them ask if like they'll see someone like ripping a bunch of weight off the ground, and like they automatically correlate that with like success or them like knowing a lot, you know what I mean, or being really strong. And no lie, if you can rip like 5 plates from the ground, you're pretty strong. But it's like, how are you pulling that off the ground? Like I have a lot more respect for someone who pulls like 315 off the ground immaculately than someone who just kind of like looks like they're a cat like vomiting as they're trying to pull 5 plates off the floor. Like I'd be much more impressed with the 315, like I had said, and like the thing that I said was like you can get it done. Like you can go in there and lift 5 plates like a cat, and if you're eating and if you're sleeping, relatively generally speaking, you can get away with it. Like there are people that don't focus on the stuff that we focus on, and they still get within the general vicinity of where they want to be. And it's a part of that to thank is I think food and maybe they're recovering. But it's like if you really want to get good, if you want to like get to that next level, it's like you were saying, if you should learn how to pull stuff properly before you start shooting for really heavy weight and lifting it like trash.
A while back, every once in a while I put like really good little nuggets on my stories on Instagram. And a while back, I put up a whole span talking about you have to earn the right to throw weight around.
Yeah.
right? It's not something you just get to do. You have to earn the right. You have to, you have to know the technique. You have to know exactly what to do. Squeeze, contracting, stretching the muscles in every portion of the movement before you can move it quickly and do all of those things at the same time.
Yeah.
Because it's even when you're moving a weight faster, you still should be going through the same general process. Right? Moving a weight faster and then not doing the contraction or not going into the full stretch gains you nothing.
Yeah, or losing control of it.
Right, exactly. So you definitely have to earn that right to just like get in there and buddy it off the floor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that was, speaking of Ronnie, that was his style. But damn well that man knew exactly how to make that movement that he was doing work for him.
Yeah.
Right. He was ripping heavy weight, but he was also able to feel it. He was able to make that build him muscle, and it wasn't just because he was moving the weight around.
Yeah. I think it's, and like I forgot where I heard this, but I've been thinking about it for a couple of days now. Some dude was talking about action versus philosophy. Like a lot of people they like readily just jump the gun. They always want to take action before they get into like the philosophy of something. And then I thought about that with like training, and it's like everyone just jumps into the gym and like they don't really get into the philosophy of like how you should be training in the gym or going about your diet or the lifestyle and the habit things. Everyone, instead of just like taking the time to cross their T's and dot their I's, to get their bracing down, to root through their feet properly, to make sure that their scaps are doing what they need to do, to make sure that like everything is kind of working, so to speak. Everyone just kind of skips that part. They skip the philosophy part and they just go into the application of things, into action. And sometimes I think like when if you're like a complete novice and you look up to Ronnie and you see him taking action but you don't know the philosophy behind that action, it's really easy to misunderstand that and then go into the gym and then try to buddy things off the ground and then like you crush a disc or some shit. So I think that's like really what I try to instill with a lot of my clients. I think that's what Nick does a really good job of too. Like, is kind of instilling that philosophy into people, kind of like how we go about training, why we go about training, the way we train, and things like that. I think it's important.
I do think getting in the gym is the right move. That is an action that you probably should take because you need the environment so that you can learn the philosophy a bit, right?
Yeah.
It'd be really hard to just sit in your room and go, okay, I have to brace. Right?
Yeah, you definitely got to be in there.
You need the external factors that come with being in a gym and having to move load, but it has to be, the conscious effort needs to be there when you start training.
Yeah.
To learn those things. But with that being said, there's a lot of people don't even know those things are things.
Exactly.
Right? People don't know about bracing. People don't know about having good set position with your feet or any of that.
Yeah, bar path.
They don't understand that. They just know weight needs to go from point A to point B. And that's it. So we can't expect people to know what they don't know.
Yeah, dude.
So I think it's something that's really boring to educate people on, because it's, and so it doesn't really get taught as like, there's a lot of free information out there, right? And especially with social media, there's a ton of free information. A lot of it is bad. But the information that gets seen is the flashy information,
unfortunately.
And so I'm not going to say nobody, people don't want to put out information for free on bracing or feet cues or any of that stuff. just because it's not going to get or attention or even appreciation that something like, just picking up a deadlift will, or I guess completing a deadlift. Right. So it's one of those things that I think is a lot harder to inform the general public on.
Yeah.
Than just what movements you should be doing in the gym.
Yeah.
Right. Because really the first part to getting people to train is to get them in the gym. But people aren't going to go into the gym until they know what they have to do once they get in there.
Yeah.
Which leaves us with the dilemma of, do we teach them what to do once they get in the gym so that they can get into the gym? Or do we teach them what to do once they're in the gym? Because they're different things, right? Teaching them what to do once they're in the gym is the bracing and the feet and bar path and breathing and all of that, right? Teaching them what to do to get into the gym is movements, what exercises, what are you eating for the day? What does your leg day look like? What rep ranges, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's tough. Education is tough, but that's why we have coaches.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah, I
exactly
feel
why
like
you have a coach.
yeah. Like I wish I mean, I'm like kind of in the process of like going through some videos right now that I'd like to put into like a little like coach's corner or something for my clients, obviously.
Yeah.
Something that I've found out that works kind of well is, or at least with one of my more recent clients, like I kind of took them through a different path than I normally would, like
Yeah.
in terms of my onboarding process. And it was just like when so like after I was done with the orientation, we kind of just like agreed on, following through with the coaching, and we thought that she was cut out for kind of what we had for her. After I was done with her training template, I basically made a video. It was like a 20-minute long video. So it was almost like on the airplane, like the flight attendant like kind of walks you through like the exits
Yeah.
and the seatbelts and this and that and the other, kind of like what to expect. I wasn't really like I didn't dig into like bracing or rooting or bar path, nothing like that. But I definitely was trying to. I wanted to. It's almost like what you were talking about, how like these guys they just kind of walk in blind, and it's kind of our job to show them like, hey, there's a lot more than like what meets the eye, especially with this. Yeah, there's like a lot more to kind of think about. So inside of that video, I was just kind of basically I was trying to encompass a certain mentality that I was trying to like just kind of translate into her so that she could understand a little bit better, like, okay, this is kind of what we're gonna go in. This is why we're following this split. This is why we're following the diet that we're on right now, things like that. And then I followed that up and I made sure that I did at least one session. Well, I got 2 sessions with her. But I got into the gym like the following day. I didn't even let her like try out anything until I was there, which was the next day. So it kind of worked out perfectly.
Right.
But I got a training session in with her under my belt with her, and I was able to kind of bring her through that stuff, the bar path, the bracing,
Right.
wrist position, rooting, stuff like that. And I feel like that transfer and the way that it like carried over, I feel like that worked out really well for her. Because right now she's like more in it than, she was already pretty in it to start with, but now she's like even more in it.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's the beauty of like in-person training.
Mm-hmm.
Is you can kind of do that.
Yeah.
With online coaching, it's super reactionary. It's like once they've done it, we can be shown, and then we try and make an adjustment that they'll hopefully remember for next week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just had a call with one of my clients about a whole bunch of stuff, but when they onboard, we went through everything, and I also do an entire onboarding video, and I walk them. I have an onboarding document I walk them through all of it, and that covers training, diet, all that stuff, right? And then I walk them through their program, and hopefully they listen all the way through it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But from there, we just kind of hope that they understand what was conveyed in that message. It's super hard to convey like the training mentality, like I think it's because a lot of people don't understand actual failure,
Yeah, they have to get
right?
familiar
And
with that.
that's what our training is so heavily based off of.
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot of people don't understand it because a lot of times, we we're very structured by rep ranges. Um, and our training, for the most part, goes super against rep ranges. Because if you pick a weight and then your rep range is 6 to 8, but you've done 8, you don't stop.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the rep range is there to help you try and find your weight,
Yeah.
and you know it will help you decide and help move along your progression,
Mm-hmm.
right? Once you've gotten 8 reps, you then can move up in weight and try and get 6, right? And then you move back through the rep range, and that's kind of how we progress.
Yeah.
But what a lot of people don't understand when they're starting with this training mentality is if you can lift the weight for more than 8 reps, keep lifting the weight.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then for next time, go heavier.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you're doing an incline bench set and your rep range is 6 to 8, and you go through and you're like, yep, I'm going to do 135, and this is going to be my top set. I've decided it. You go in, you do it, you pump out 8 reps, and you're like, okay, rack.
Yeah.
It's like not the right idea there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you could have done 15.
Yeah, exactly. Like you had a
Right.
few more in the tank there.
And so do the 15, accept that you passed the rep range, and then when you go back into your logbook next week when you're doing the same session again, you'll know, okay, I did 135 for 15.
Yeah.
So this week I should try and do 185 for 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like potentially if you had followed through with that, if you had just done your 135 for 10, you'd be like two weeks behind where you would be right
Yep.
now.
Yeah,
Because you probably
exactly.
would have went in there and said, "Oh, all right, I'm gonna go for 2 reps more," and then you
Yep.
would have done the 135 for 12,
Yep.
and that's just another week that you just missed because you just kind of drained that.
Yeah, I think people get way too absorbed in rep ranges. Uh,
Yeah, and hitting the number.
yeah, exactly. I I definitely think about the number, but I never let it stop me.
Yeah,
Like it it's always like minimum I'm getting this number.
yeah,
That
exactly. It's
that's
like,
that's my approach.
yeah,
Is that number is my minimum.
yeah. You
I,
get to that
I
number and then it's showtime.
right. I you know no matter what, I'm gonna try to not rack the weight before this number.
Hmm. Yeah,
And been doing it long enough and have enough previous history through in progressing of doing the same movements over and over again that I know if I'm going to hit the minimum number or not. Like you do the lift enough times and you go through this progression enough times that you start to learn. You can confidently walk in and be like, no matter what I'm getting, I'll get 6 out of this,
yeah,
which is really good. That brings up another topic of just like confidence going into the bar,
hmm
um, and like how much that plays to your success in a set.
yeah,
Because I've had sets where I didn't think I was going to do it because, I wasn't, I was a little cold, or for one reason or another, I put in my head that, yeah, I probably won't get it.
Yeah.
For some reason, I went into a set and said that to
Yeah,
myself.
we've all been there, definitely.
Right. And it happens. And you
Mhm.
just like get stumped. But you throw away those few times where you just put in your head that you're not going to get it for some reason, and you start filling your head with, well, no matter what, I know I'm getting 6.
Yeah.
And then from there, we're just going to grind them out. I
Mhm.
know it's tough, but I'm just going to grind them out, and
Yeah.
we're going to see what we get to. And I always think about the next week for some reason. That's kind of been really big for my progress. And I think about the next week. I go, do I really want to do this weight again next week?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then I'm just like, no, I'm really tired of doing this weight. So I'm gonna get more than my rep range.
Yeah.
And then you just do it.
Mhm.
And that's just, there's your tip, friends.
There it is.
There's your tip.
Do one
Walk
more.
walk in and be tired of your own bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know. I always try and think of the next week,
Mhm.
and whether I'm gonna be done with this weight or not.
Yeah.
You know.
And
So
it's nice to know that, like, okay, once we hit a certain rep range, it's time to like go up in weight too.
yeah, that definitely helps a lot.
Yeah, for sure. For sure does. You know, just like kind of going back to like the failure point and like knowing if you're close enough to failure. That's something that I try to push into my clients as well, is like you're not pushing yourself to like
Yeah.
your actual max. There's like a perceived max, I guess, and
Right.
then there's like an actual, and I feel like everyone's perceived max is definitely much lower than what they're actually capable of, whether it's just having someone scream at them or just maybe not believing in themselves enough. But
Mhm.
like, you know, and then that goes hand in hand with kind of that confidence underneath the bar and how, comfy you are with taking sets a little bit closer to failure than not, and I've definitely found that, like, whether it can be client dependent, but pushing hard is something that you can teach. But
Yeah.
I've found that, like, you gotta want to push to a certain extent. It's kind of like what you want, it will be equivalent to how hard you want to push, and then that might not line up so well with how hard you actually want to push.
Yeah.
So,
I think a part of it is just kind of having that screw loose. Right.
yeah,
Like
being a little crazy.
right. You gotta be a little bit messed up.
Yeah,
Just to like really push it that far, which some people don't have the screw loose for it, and that's so be it. They're not going to be bodybuilders. Not
they can still
not
get.
everyone is a bodybuilder, right?
Yeah,
We definitely. I think sometimes we look through a lens,
whether it
and
be wide or small.
it's hard as a coach to accept that not everybody that you coach is a bodybuilder,
Hmm.
right? And not everybody is going to just go balls deep into a set and like just like search for pain.
Yeah. And
And
like, we're not even saying that like you got to do that every set, but you got to know how to bring it out every once in a
yeah,
while.
you
Like, you
do
got to
have
know how to push it.
yep. And if you haven't been there, if you've never taken yourself there, you'll never really know how close you are to taking yourself there in your
Yeah.
sets. Because maybe not every set do you go to failure like that, but at least for myself, on the majority of my sets, I take myself right to that line.
Yeah.
You know, um, just because I can continue to output taking myself that far.
Yeah.
And in a weird, messed up kind of way, it's fun for me.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it's fun just getting messed up in a set.
I
Like
yeah, I was gonna say, and like your training, I mean, your nutrition is like on point, your recovery is on point as well, so it just makes pushing yourself into that hole like that much easier. you know?
Right. Yeah, you definitely do have to have the other aspects of recovery like fine-tuned.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know you have control over your sleep and how much recovery you're getting out of your sleep in combination with your food. You
Yeah.
know, being super consistent with your diet day in, day out is super, super boring, but it's what allows you to really push the envelope in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's putting everything together so that you can have, just like the perfect session.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
it's kind of like all
it's
those little variables that need to be there.
Yep. Yeah, and so you try and control and um, standardize all the variables there,
Mm.
and then you change them one at a time. A lot of people don't get that. It's just the fact that you can't change all of the variables all the time,
Yeah.
right? So one person will see that their training isn't going the way they expect it, and so they change their training when in fact they haven't slept well in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot more to why your output in your training is what it is
Mm-hmm.
versus
Mm-hmm.
just what your split is or your rep ranges. Like
Yeah.
this stuff really doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's usually, yeah, I know. It's like some lame justification. It's like the reason, like there's a reason why you changed, and then it's like the real reason why you shouldn't have changed, you know? It's like your sleep was shit for two
Right.
weeks.
Yep.
Your muscle isn't getting used to the movement. You know what I mean? It's not, I've heard so many like reasons why they should do a bro split or like why you should, you know, switch your workouts up like every other week, this, that, the other. And it's like, I don't know. I think
Muscles
it's just
don't
like,
have brains.
yeah, exactly.
Can't
Your
you
brain.
can't surprise them.
Yeah.
They know contraction and stretch.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
It's like
And
it's people getting a little bit
and
lazy
protein
with things.
synthesis cycles.
Wait, what?
and and they know protein synthesis cycles.
Yeah.
like that's it.
Yeah.
You can't shock them by changing emotion by 30 degrees.
Yeah.
You
It
know,
doesn't work like that.
no,
Like it's really it's just it's not sexy and you just didn't want to keep doing it
right.
because it's
Because you
been
suck.
4 weeks and you don't want to continue. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You don't want to keep trying to
you
push
don't you
yourself.
don't want to get into the nitty gritty stuff that it actually takes to get better at a movement.
Yeah.
So instead, you'll just change it to something that you can have a quick progression in because you're just new to the movement,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
right? Like the hard the hard part of training is after you've become incredibly efficient at a movement.
Yeah.
Once you stop becoming efficient, that's when you really have to grind to
Hmm.
get stronger at it because that's when your strength and muscle growth will then correlate to your increase in output.
Yeah.
It's once you've maximized your efficiencies in a movement,
Hmm.
the only way you can move more weight is by growing the muscle to move it.
Literally, yeah. There's no other wiggle room in other areas to kind of improve to help you out.
Yeah. So once a weight stalls, you got to look at why it stalled.
Hmm.
Is it because you're maximally efficient at the movement and now you have to actually increase your muscle so that you can output more? Is it because you haven't slept right? Is it because you haven't eaten right? Is it because you decided to have a bender every weekend? It's like people don't need to change anything in their training.
Yeah, they really just have to make sure that all their variables are like tight enough
Yeah.
and within respects of where they should be. And then you
That's
can
the
kind
only
of
time.
start looking at other things. But it's like if you have a few of those variables off, it can really affect your training. Like
Yeah.
it really can.
Yeah. It can definitely mess you up. Like, how long I guess with quarantine, it did make things different for most people. But how long have you been doing the same compound movement
Dude,
in, for all of your days? Like,
yeah, yeah, honestly. Like outside of the maybe first like year or two, like but that was just because I was like so into like bro splits, just getting into
yeah,
it
just
like
taking
everyone
stuff.
else, just kind of
Okay, yeah, the
yeah,
beginning stages of lifting, sure.
yeah, yeah, like just kind of no sleep, pre-workout, couple meals, swearing into the Holy Bible, to the Swoly Bible,
The
and
swollen.
like and just going in and just like yeah, just lifting what I could for as much as I could. And that was pretty much that.
Yeah, the lost puppy in the gym for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But then after that, it was pretty much okay. Just stay tight with your compounds. Make sure you hit your compounds, and then you can let kind of like the trickle in volume. And then it was changing up rep ranges as well. Like I've done German volume training. Like I've done the 10x10 and 5x5 and 5-3-2-1 and
Yep.
you know pyramids up, pyramids down.
Yeah, I used to do those
Um,
a lot.
yeah,
I
drop
think
sets, supersets,
I think
giant sets.
pyramids. I don't like I don't like calling it a bro split because there does come a point where doing the bro split is very valid. You know, it is a very valid training style, right?
Yeah, I think it can teach you how to really push.
Yeah. So I don't like calling it a bro split. Maybe that's just because I watch Fuad all the time and he doesn't like calling it a bro split. But
Yeah, oh, yeah.
he calls it a pro split because that's what most pro bodybuilders use is the bro
hmm
split. Um, I kind of forgot what I was saying there. What were we talking about?
Um,
Pyramids, bro.
Oh yes,
thank you,
pyramids.
Haley.
I think. Thank you. I
The
think.
moderator.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think when you get started, the pyramid is like one of the more bro splitty things that is done. And I think pyramid style stuff doesn't work.
On
Well,
why side?
like,
Like going like 8, 10, 15, or like 12, 15,
oh, I was thinking the other direction.
or like
So you
15. Okay, yeah, yeah,
you start like 15, 12, 10, 8,
yeah.
5, 3, 1, 3, 5, 8, you know. By the time you get to 1, you're fucked,
Yeah. You're pretty gassed.
right? Like, and maybe pyramids work if you train without intensity.
I was just about, yeah, could I chime in and just use one
Yeah.
example? So,
Yeah.
like, dude, I have a client. So I usually run 6 to 8, 12 to 15, 15, 20, 20 to 25 with my typical clients.
Sure.
If they can like push it and they're experienced enough to kind of take a top set on and like they're willing to kind of go balls to the walls. But I have a client that I train with in the morning, and I'll pyramid him up
Hmm.
into like higher weights, and it's really because he's just like he's that type of client that like if I start him at his top set and it's our first set of the day, he'll like try to press it and he'll be like oh like did you is the gravity on or something? He's like why is this so heavy? And I'm like oh Jesus. So
Gotcha.
like he's the kind of client that I have to like trick into like working out and
Yeah.
performing. The man weighs like 200 pounds. He's strong. He
Hmm.
can like he's a big boy. He's like 6'2" or 6'3",
Wow.
above 200 right now. And he's not like he's not like obese in any means. He's got like a little bit on him, but like I was saying, the mass does push mass. He is strong, so I know that he can lift like that weight that I have for him within that 6 to 8 rep range, and I know he's probably leaving like a rep or two on the table. But like he is definitely someone that I will pyramid up into a heavier weight because just kind of like waking him up with the intensity and just getting him into those sets, it takes a little bit for him to gear in. But then I'll work with another client like us or something, right? Like one of my clients,
Yep.
they're a little bit younger that enjoy pushing those or that enjoy pushing that way, and they have no issue with starting at a higher intensity and then taking it back offset. And it's because I teach them how to like warm up for those sets.
Right.
I teach them the reasons why, but it doesn't translate too well to Christopher. So it's like, that's kind of like, or maybe we can bleep his name out. I don't really know. But yeah, but like, that's kind of how Bleep does his stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No. That was good. Yeah, intensity is such a hard thing to teach.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it comes back to that teaching someone to go to failure.
Yeah.
You can't. Like you really can't teach someone how to do that. They just have to be willing in their own mind space to do it.
Yeah.
And so going back to pyramids, if you're not someone who pushes sets to the verge of failure, then they work fine.
Yeah.
Because really, then all that they're doing is just warming up.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a pyramid set.
Mm-hmm.
It's a ton of warm-up feeder sets.
Fluff volume.
To then do a single 1 rep max working set.
Yeah.
Right? And then, generally after that, from what I've seen, the sets back down are like, okay. Because then they think, oh, well, good. I knocked out my 1 rep max. So now I can really try and push.
Yeah, right?
I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah. Like, you do realize you're like 5 sets in and you're
Right.
saying you have 4 left, right? Okay. All right. I'm just making sure. Okay.
Are you just now starting to lift? I'm lost.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
lost. What's in your logbook?
Dude. Like, there are some dudes that are in the gym that tell me exactly that. They're on their like 5th set and they're like working up to a 1 RM. They're on like 4 plates right now. They just pulled 3 for like a set of 6 or 8 or something like that. And before that, they pulled like 2 for maybe, 20, who knows.
Yeah.
But like, I'm like, dude, like in the back of my head, I'm like, you are so strong. Like, if you just didn't waste all of that energy going into a pointless 1 RM that you literally did last week. I saw you 1 RM last week. You do this every week. Like, I see you do this every week. Like, if you just didn't waste all that energy and you just warmed up properly and then just all on the table on that top set, you would have an immaculate top set. And like their top set that they have, like if they're typical, like 4 plates or something like that, like just the guy that I'm thinking of, like he'll pull that for like 6. But it's like, I know that he could pull it for probably 10 if he did exactly that. Just saved his energy, waited until he had that top set in his hand, and then he could definitely rip it for way more than what he was capable of doing. But then he'll just go straight up, kind of waste all of his energy, and then use the rest of it on like the few sets after. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It's inefficient. I think that's why we like rocking top sets. It's just because it's so efficient and we really make the most out of our top set, and then we can back off and still make the most out of our back sets.
I think it's the easiest way to track progression.
Yeah.
Because if you do a pyramid style, there's so many sets going up to your top set, right, that you could have expended a little extra energy going into, in those first 5 sets. You could have put a little bit more into a certain weight, or maybe you decided to throw a little bit more weight on one of your pyramids, right? One of your levels of your pyramid. And so that took a little bit more energy out. And so then you get to this theoretical 1 rep max that you're doing, and you've expended more energy than you did last week warming up. And then you end up, not seeming like you didn't get anywhere, like you didn't progress.
Yeah.
Because all you're really thinking about is, well, what is this 1 rep max going to be?
Yeah.
Right? Because that's all they seem to care about when they do a pyramid style is, what is the tip of the pyramid going to be?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
And I couldn't. I used to do pyramids.
Same.
I think everyone does. I think
Mhm.
everyone does. But I couldn't imagine now trying to do one. I wouldn't make it
Yeah,
because my first set of 15, I would fail at 15,
dude. Yeah,
and there is no possible way I would go up and wait and then try and do 12.
yeah,
There's no
dude.
way.
Like a third set, a fourth set.
Yeah, like
Yeah, dude. After the second one, dude, we're so gassed.
yeah, because like I'm throwing so much, there's so much stimulus happening in my first set that I
Yeah,
do
it's so intense.
that there's no way I'd make it to a 1 rep max.
Yeah.
Like I'd be done.
Hmm.
And so it's just it comes back to that intensity factor of like that it's a pyramid, but they aren't really treating it with the same intent
Yeah.
as kind of how we do with our sets. Like the going up to the 1 rep max in a pyramid style, the goal of the beginning or the first half of the pyramid isn't to reach failure. It really is just warm up, but they do it with a lot of volume.
Yeah.
You know, super high rep ranges for one reason or another. Honestly, because if we brought it all down to like, let's cut the pyramid in half and say you do the pyramid as, 8, 5, 3, 1. That would be like a normal warm up for us.
Yeah.
Like my first warm up that I do with, super light, and I'm just focused on making sure everything is moving fine, all the grooves are greased, my joints aren't gonna fucking rip off
Blow up. Yeah.
yeah, all that stuff. I'll do 8 reps. I'll do like 8 to 10 reps just to
Hmm.
make sure everything's working right. And then I'll go up and weight, and I'll do like 5 reps. And then I'll do a 3 rep sometimes. And then generally my set right before my top set, I'll just do 1 rep.
Okay.
Right?
Do you ever overreach, or do you just go to your top set weight?
I generally just work right up to my top set weight. I've never really done the overreach thing.
Yeah, I'm just wondering.
When I saw you do it, I thought it was really interesting. But I don't know how I would implement it.
Mhm.
I take everything back to RDLs.
Yeah.
Just because it's kind of what I know best currently. And if I were to overshoot RDLs at this point, I guess what are you overshooting by? If it's just like
Like I would say it's like 90% of a true 1 RM for just one is like a general ballpark of if I was overreaching on that day, what I would do.
yeah, I feel like that takes too much out of me.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm doing an RDL. One, it gets really annoying to set up all of that stuff.
Yeah, especially if you're like 5 like warm up sets in, it can be like, do I want to go up again?
Yeah, with RDLs, it's really convenient because my first warm up is just 1 plate on each side,
Mm.
and so I slap plate on the next one, 2 plates, next one, 3 plates, next one, 4 plates, and I'll do it for 1, and then that 1 that I do will actually determine the set for me.
Yeah.
How that 1 rep at 405 felt will determine whether I do 405 and shoot for 8,
Mm-hmm.
or if I'm going to throw 5s on each side and shoot for like 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
But right now I'm in like this weird limbo with RDLs of where if I do 10s on each side, I'll get like 4, sometimes 5, which is super close to my normal top set of 6.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I want to just hit that every week, because I official 14 and make sure I work it through the full range.
Yeah.
I have this battle with myself every once in a while with my lifts. I'm like, well, do I take the slightly bigger leap and work it into my top set range if I'm off by like 1, maybe 2? Or do I come back down a little bit and be in the top set range? Right? Because we never do a 1 rep max.
Yeah.
Right? So I never pick up a weight thinking that I could fail it someday. Right? I have a generally good gauge on, if I can move something for 4. I don't know why 4, but I can have a set that I just finished for 8. A top set weight that I just finished for 8, and the next week with RDLs, at least, it's very different when I get to pressing, because my pressing is garbage.
Yeah.
But with RDLs, in a movement that I'm very efficient at, if I throw on 10 pounds, I'll be able to do that 8 rep for 6. So if I add 10 pounds to what I just did for 8, I'll get it for 6. And so sometimes I'm like, well, if I add 20 pounds, I can probably squeeze it out for 4. It might be a little bit dirty.
Yeah.
But I might be able to squeeze it for 4, and then the next week I'll shoot for 5, and then the next week I'll shoot for 6. Right? And so
rather than just backing off.
Right.
And getting
just keep feeling the heavier weight, because sometimes that's a part of it too. Is like the first time I feel a new weight, it just like kind of shocks me a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I've had times where the first time I felt a weight, I got it for 4, and then the next week, because I had confident holding the weight, I got it for 7.
Damn. Yeah.
I was like, oh, good thing
That's
I
a solid
did.
jump.
Right. And so sometimes I sit in that limbo and I go back and forth with myself about, whether that's the right thing to do. Because I never know.
Yeah. If you ask me, man, I think it's better to, there's like a certain mentality. It's not like it really flows over into this conversation with any science behind it, but it's like, I found that like when you take a step back from something, it's usually never good. Unless it's like you're looking like a puking cat, you know what I mean? It's really, really dirty, right. Then yeah, you can like back off a little bit. But generally speaking, I feel like if you've got it and it's moving and like it's moving okay, you're going to move it better the next week,
Right.
So I feel like, there's always a happy medium between like, damn, that looks like, I feel like that would only be a scenario with people that don't have this kind of mentality, especially from like the get-go, that have gotten to where they've gotten. They're like, should I like go up a little bit? And it's like usually with those people, I'm like, you should go back a lot, and like relearn a lot and then go back up. So like I feel like the scenario that you're in is definitely like a little bit different, where it's kind of like stay with the heavy weight that you got and just kind of shoot for more reps. And
this whole conversation is definitely prerequisited by saying that everything is standardized, right? Sure. When I say it's a little dirty, I mean
it's still
it literally just means that I'll get to the bottom of the RDL, and instead of having like a crisp pause, I get like a little bit of flex coming back out. So I don't even know if I can do this. So
like a little whip, a little spine whip.
Instead of bending over and then just straight back up, you'll get one of these, and then on the way back up, it does not even that much. But
can you imagine, dude, if you're like
just wave?
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's just like there's a little bit of give coming out of the bottom is what I mean when a rep gets dirty.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because a huge part of my training that I pay a lot of attention to this, and it's made a huge difference in just like my progression, but also just how reps feel, is once I'm in the set, I've got all my cues set. I've done the movements enough times now that I don't have to think about them. And that's kind of what I spend my warm-ups doing, is kind of going back through my cues, making sure all that stuff is good. But when I get to my top set, it is all about moving the weight.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to think about my cues.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to think about any of that stuff. It should be automatic at that point.
Yeah. I remember us talking about that last week.
Yeah. So the only thing that I think about in my sets is very, very crisply changing directions.
Mm-hmm. Well put. Yeah, well said.
Right. So it's you have point A and point B. It doesn't matter whether this is a pressing movement, pulling movement, or whatever. We start at point A, and you come down to point B, and you should change direction here and come exactly back up the way you got there from point A.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so when it gets dirty, or if you're not thinking about it, what ends up happening is you come here, you're down to point B, and then you get a little bit of extra range.
Yeah.
And you then lose bracing and positioning, right? And then because that happens, you then fall out of your path, and you're not coming back up the same way you went down.
Yeah.
Right? Every rep should be thought of like a machine. Right? You should go up and down in the same exact path.
Yeah.
Right?
It's funny that you mentioned that. Wait, yeah, and keep going. Finish it off.
And same thing. I think about this a lot, and it took me a while to fix this in my pressing movements. When you hit the top of a pressing movement, it is really easy to try and get a little bit more out, and then you end up releasing your scaps because you didn't just crisply change direction.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
So you should, in your warm-ups, you should really be paying attention to where point A and point B are, and make sure you feel them. Right. And then when you get to your top set, all that you're doing is making sure that you hit point A and you change direction.
Yeah.
Then you hit point B and then you change direction. That's right. Because you don't want the extra fluff in any of your movements.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's just wasted energy.
Yeah, it's wasted energy. It's a good way to get hurt.
Yeah.
and so that's definitely been a huge part of just like cleaning up my movements, which has then resulted in moving more, and being more successful and week to week progressing, because all I'm focused on is just I call it repeating rep 1, because I make sure that my first rep is perfect.
Yeah.
And it should be.
That's every rep after that,
right.
too, yeah.
There's zero reason why rep 1 shouldn't be perfect.
Yeah.
You've had all the time in the world to set it up. You're not exhausted yet.
Yeah.
So there's zero reason. And then after that, I just try and repeat rep 1. I felt all of rep 1 happen, and then I just try and repeat it.
Yeah.
And it's just rinse and repeat. Don't think.
Yeah.
When you die, you die.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah, dude. That's like something that I also stress with my clients recently, is like the going to form failure. Like there's a difference between like muscular failure and then going to like form failure. Obviously, like when you dip out of that point A, point B range, and then it's kind of a little bit unsafe, it's kind of like, how do we stop this? And I was like thinking about how I should explain it. And so like I came up with this train track analogy, where if you could imagine, like you've got this train and the wheels on it, you've got those like rails that run along it. Basically, like at the beginning of your set, you're putting this coal in, let's say you stop. So you're going those tracks, they don't do anything outside of what they're already doing, which is this. They don't go sideways, they don't go, backwards, they don't do 360s, nothing. You just stay exactly the same. And then as you lose more coal, the only thing that's going to change is your tempo, but those tracks are going to do exactly what they're doing, and they won't stop until they stop.
Yep.
But they're still going through the same motion, and they don't go left, right, up, down, sideways. They're just doing the exact same thing, and you just lose a little bit of steam, and that's really it. And
you're done.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like when people get to the very end of there, and that was just to kind of stop that unnecessary like using other things, like using your entire body to kind of heave something up, or going outside of our normal AB range, stuff like that. So I was just using that as kind of an analogy to help them kind of stay a little bit tighter throughout the entire set. And then that is literally how I will get you to fail, is because nothing else will change until you can't get your chest off the counter anymore. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's that's actually a really good analogy. I find now that if I stray from trying to do a rep perfectly, it only goes worse.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually tried to do a rep not perfectly, now that I think about it.
So sometimes I'll get in my head, and this happens in my pressing, and that's why I suck at pressing. But if I'm doing a flat bench set, I'll get into the set, I'll do my first 7 reps spot on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, if I get 8, I can move up next week.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure I'm going to fail this. Right? 7 went up, stupid slow. But I'm like, I want to push this out. I want to go up next week.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's the screw loose, by the way. And so I go for 8. And knowing that I'm probably going to fail it, I'll try and do something weird to make myself not fail it. And it just goes poorly. It goes really, really poorly.
Yeah.
I'll end up lifting my ass off the bench. Or, I'll try and get just a little more bounce off the chest. Right? Or, just the little things like that are completely different from the first 7 reps that I did.
Yeah.
And it messes me up every time.
Yeah.
I have way more success when I get out of my head, and when I go to do that final fail rep, I actually just think, go slower. Right? Slow down through the eccentric to make sure that you are as efficient as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing falls out of path.
Yeah.
And that's been way more successful.
Mm-hmm. And that eccentric that is pretty good money right there, especially on your last rep. If it is the potential last rep, you'll know.
Yeah,
but it's also good. It's good money too. So.
Right. Yeah, and worst case, I spent time under tension there in a nice long eccentric, which is there's benefit there too.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's there's a lot of little tips and tricks.
We can't leave them all with all of our tips, right?
Not all the tips.
On episode 1.
We're dropping nuggets here, man.
Yeah, there's a couple nuggets. We'll definitely have to clip.
Nuggets.
Yeah, we'll have to clip some stuff.
Yeah. I hope. I don't know. Maybe this is garbage. I don't know.
We might be able to salvage a nugget or 2 out of it. Yeah, definitely not the strongest thing in the world, but it's some. It's some.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But how's your training going?
Training's been really good. Especially in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks has been noticeably different than the 10 before that. Kind of us just getting back in quarantine and just getting back in the groove of things. But it's obviously because the food's been going in. My sleep does need to be a little bit better, but I've been up on all of my lifts consistently for the last 3 weeks. So I'm pretty happy with that. And my body weight's coming up with that as well. So also nice.
Congrats, man.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a win.
I'm finally I'm happy with my front squat just for the way it's moving, because I used to have such a pain. I mean, it's still a pain in the ass, but front squats were ugly for me
Yeah.
back in the day. Like I wouldn't even want to like look at a front squat. But like now it's
Yeah.
much different. It's moving nice. I feel pretty tight. And when I was actually like connected with my lats, like the last front squat I had was probably the best front squat I've done in a really, really, really long time.
Yeah.
But it was like the intent on my lats definitely allowed my torso to stay upright way longer. So I think I was like 2 or 3 reps up from my last front squat. So I think I'm actually going to come up in weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, finally, thank God.
Yeah. I got a front squat today. I got to do legs again today, dude.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
See?
I've also got legs. I'm RDLing today. You're like talking about RDLs all day long, and I'm gonna be the one that's RDLing today.
Got an RDL today.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So when I did legs on Friday, I wasn't actually supposed to do legs.
Okay.
But I wanted the opportunity. I wanted to train with Chris. So that's I was like, screw it. I'll change just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then so I was supposed to do pull. So then I did pull yesterday, which now leaves me with legs again today.
Are you taking 2 on, 2 off right now, or are you
2 on, 1 off?
2 on, 1 off? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now I gotta train legs again today, but fortunately, just my hamstrings, they're mostly recovered. So my quads are good, which is the dominating portion of my leg day. I gotta. Sometimes I actually like doing leg day when my legs are sore. That might be weird, but it helps me. It almost helps me connect with a little bit better, just because I can feel when things are working better because it hurts a little bit and I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, nice, it hurts, cool.
I can feel it now.
I feel it, yeah. But yeah, I got a front squat today, and after the last front squats that I did, I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had an anabolic talk before that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, dude. We're probably gonna have a good lift today too.
Probably.
I hope I have a good lift today. Yo, I'm probably gonna have a good lift today. You wanna know why?
Oh man. Yeah, dude.
Oh yeah, dude. So honest review, dude. Let's hear it. Things you like.
Okay.
Things you don't like.
Hold on. Let me grab mine.
Let's share our subs. This is gonna be sub talk.
Sup talk. All right, we're talking about sups now.
Now we're talking about subs.
So
we're not sponsored, but they should be paying us.
We aren't sponsored at all, but I'm a big fan of Fuad, who he has his own podcast. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you know who he is. But Real Bodybuilding Podcast. It's really good, and he owns Hostile. And then, so he has, that's brandwear as well as supplements now. And I really like his pre-workout, both his stem and non-stem. Right now, I'm using the stem, which is Hostility. And I really like the ingredient panel on it. It's full of really high grade, high quality ingredients. And also the dosages on it are like top tier. So, like, just everything about it is, from an ingredient standpoint, is spot on. He did a really good job with that. And then the flavoring is, I like mango punch. It is a good. It's not a sour kind of pre-workout. A lot of people like the super tangy, sour pre-workouts. So this one just isn't quite that. It has a little bit of a chalkiness to it, but that's because I believe it's because of the Pico 2. So Pico 2 generally has like a chalky.
A little preemie before the actual.
Yeah, but so overall, I really like it. It's not just like crazy stupid stim.
Yeah, the scooper is way bigger than I thought. When you had shown me this
Yeah.
over the camera, did not do it justice
No,
at
not at
all.
all. It's a 27-gram scoop.
No, this thing looks like a tank.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably
big
like it's very misleading. In person, much bigger.
But you got to have a big scoop to fit all of the ingredients.
Yeah, that's just so that we.
You could take half a scoop of this, and it would be about the same size as a normal pre-workout.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Nothing
I care about, but
yeah.
It's all going into the same place.
Yep. But yeah, so it's not a crazy stim. Like, you're not gonna feel coked out on it. It's a lot more focus and like energy based. So when I take normal pre-workouts, normal pre-workouts, you get your beta alanine rush, and then you get through a couple sets, and then you just like kind of puttering along to the end of your workout.
Yeah.
This I can very calmly spend like 3 hours in the gym. It's actually it's almost a problem because I'll take the pre-workout and then I'll get through all of my lift and I'm like, oh man, I could do this.
I still got some
more.
more.
I end up walking around and just like wanting to add in extra things. So a lot of times I just do extra sets of like calves and stuff. or like I'll throw in an extra bicep movement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like nothing crazy heavy, but I just I never have like a drop in energy.
Mm-hmm.
So my stamina in the gym is a lot longer.
Word. I usually don't use pre-workouts anymore. I used to like crazy. What was the first pre-workout you ever used?
Oh man. C4, of course.
Do you remember? Okay, C4.
Yeah.
Dude, mine was Mr. Hyde. I don't know if you remember
No
that.
way.
But dude, yeah. Anthony, one of my friends, Anthony, he was like, take this. It's pretty much crack. I was like, all right.
Crack, dude.
Dude, it was crack. Yeah.
Mr. Hyde was some crazy stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I went to C4 after that. Hyde took the cake on all of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then after a while, I just was like, okay, I should probably stop because like I was getting to the point where when I was working out with Diab, I was taking like 2 scoops pretty much of pre-workout, and that was like, in my opinion, you should never really get to that point where you're taking you're just overstimming the crap out of yourself. If you are overstimming yourself, you should probably take a little break. Just for those of you guys, if you are overstimming yourself.
So after I finish a tub of this now, my plan is I actually am going to rotate between hostility and bloodshot. So bloodshot is the non-stim, just pump. And, I really like it. I've actually combined them both before. That was wild.
That was probably like 12 grams of citrulline.
Yeah, it was.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That was a big old pump that day.
Yeah, that was a pretty wild workout.
Yeah.
So now really the plan is with the pump, when I finish the hostility, I will just switch over to the pump to give myself a bit of a caffeine and stim break.
Yeah.
And then once the bloodshot is gone, I switch back and I just kind of rotate back and forth between the two.
That's a good idea.
When I do take hostility, I also take from Get Raw Nutrition, I take the pump too.
Okay.
Or maybe it's squared. You think it's squared or two?
That's looking squared.
I think it's squared.
That's looking pretty squared.
So I take pump squared, I guess.
Got you.
And it is literally just glycersize, which is a pump ingredient. And so I'm a big fan of glycersize. It's also glycersize is in bloodshot, but it's not in hostility.
Okay. That's just like a.
It's one of my favorite ingredients. I just like it in my pre-workout. So I take just a scoop of this and I toss it in.
Is that a proprietary blend? Glycericides?
No,
Yeah.
it's a patented ingredient. It's just a single ingredient.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Yep. So that's a good ingredient. Little sup talk there, and that's what my stack looks like. Outside of that, the best way to get the greatest pump and workout ever is called nutrition.
Facts.
Like that's the other thing that I don't want to look over when I talk about supplements is none of this is gonna do jack shit.
Yeah.
One, if you don't drink water. All right. If you don't have water, no insane amount of pump ingredients is going to be able to push water to your blood. I mean, to your muscles if it's not there.
Yeah.
Right. So water is huge. That's a little sup tip right there. If you're not getting a pump,
Tip
it's
number 2.
probably because you're not drinking enough water or eating enough food.
Yeah.
Or
you're just tired and shot as all hell.
right. Yeah. So
you've been up for 48 hours and you need sleep.
Yeah. Don't blame your supplements for not getting a pump.
Yeah. I always tell my clients that supplements are supplementary. Like once they're able to really get down their diet and things like that, then you can start, thinking about them as little hole fillers. Just now, I'm actually just getting into some intra and some pre's with Kev, one of my clients, just because he's been pretty tight with his diet and he wants to get into the pre-workout nutrition and intra-workout nutrition.
Supplements are one of those things where they are an amplifier, but you can't amplify zero.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you can't multiply zero.
Like they are a very, very small scale amplifier. They'll give you a little bit more energy going into your lift. They'll give you a little bit more stamina to get through, maybe push an extra rep. But they aren't going to do any of that if you don't have the proper nutrition in place.
Preach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, quick water chug.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I actually just ran out of all my water. Just drank my 24 ounces. Yeah, I just bought this today. I bought 2 of them because I lose them and they get stinky all the time.
Those brand name blender bottles.
It actually is a brand name blender bottle. I like they've made them now so that they have curved bottoms, which I actually like because they used to, like the ones that are kind of squared off towards the bottoms, it's really easy to get like the gunkaroo stuck like in the little crevices. So like,
oh yeah,
having like I don't know if you can even see it, but it has like a circular bottom, so it's like really easy to just like sponge through.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get like a little ring of protein.
Yeah, like that little like where your sponge can't get in that crevice, like where the 2 sides meet. You're like, oh god, yeah. Yeah, well, good shit.
That's funny. But so we've made it through sub talk. Any other supplements? I don't
like,
know a whole ton on intra. I haven't played with it enough.
Yeah, it's not really like it's like a big old game, but like right now I'm running little intra carb, creatine, and an EAA. And I think that's all I'm running right now. So, I'm the only thing that I'm really missing out of that is some sort of like a pump sup. But there's actually a good amount of citrulline in here that I didn't know in this hostility. So
yeah,
I'm definitely going to slam this hostility before, and there's also creatine in here as well. There's like a few grams of creatine in here.
Yeah, there's a little bit.
I might throw like an extra like 3 grams on.
Yeah.
Let's call it 6.
He did a whole video explaining why there's each ingredient in the product. It's actually a really good video. So I'll shoot you the link.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
because it was really interesting. I actually learned way more about supplements just watching that video than like doing any of my own research.
Yeah.
Because the internet is a wild place.
It's quite the rabbit hole. This is like a few years ago, I had made my own little, I didn't like make it obviously, but like I thought of the combo by myself. It was an EAA, creatine, vasodilator. It was most likely like citrulline,
Yeah.
and a carbohydrate. And the idea behind it was get my veins as dilated as possible so that I could get as many nutrients to the cells that I needed. And the creatine is water retentive, carbohydrate is water retentive, um, and then obviously the citrulline would help that nutrient delivery by kind of opening up everything. And that was kind of like what I rocked. And I also rocked an EAA with it as well. So like now I'm like kind of right back on that track again. So I'm like happy with it.
Interesting. Yeah. Creatine I've never cared to take around a workout.
Yeah, I don't take it like at night anymore or like in the morning. So I just, I get it in for the day, and that's kind of like where I get it in. But I do understand that getting it in like post would be a better idea, if anything.
Yeah.
But I've totally used it like every which way, and I've been using it for a very long time. So, you know, I know that my creatine levels are probably okay.
Right. They're probably all right.
Yeah, they're all right. I'm just taking a guess.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Yo, just made it like a minute 30, dude.
A minute 30.
Oh, hour 30. That was the longest minute 30 of my life.
We just
Oh,
talked
holy
so
shit.
fast.
Yo, that was crazy though. Minute 30. I keep saying a minute 30. Hour 30.
Yeah. We're just shooting the shit.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll be able to take at least 2 minutes worth of good stuff.
Honestly, at this point, we might as well just like fully just upload the whole thing.
Just throw it up there and just see
I think
what
so.
it. Yeah.
Maybe we just shouldn't try and edit it too heavily. Just put it up as just like dudes chatting.
Just for what it is. Yeah, it's really just a dude chat.
Yeah, I mean, there's some nuggets in there, and we'll try and help teach and guide some people. But I really think sometimes people just like to feel like they're in a room hanging out with some dudes.
Yeah, that's. And you are in the right place, dudes or
Dudes.
Dudes and doodas.
Yeah.
I think that's a female dude. I don't know. It's bras and bros.
Bruh. We need a
Bruh.
YouTube channel now.
I know, right? We got to think of a name for it too.
I still vote for the Weekly Anabolic.
I was just about to say I am still game for the Weekly Anabolic.
All right.
So it's definitely not out of the question.
All right.
Well,
I think we're good for this video. Anything to plug? There we go.
oh God, do you want to plug? I'm gonna let you plug first.
You want to let me plug? Yeah.
Shameless plugs.
Shameless plugs at the end because we're just struggling dudes trying to be dudes that aren't struggling anymore. So we both have personal brands. Mine is called Undeniable. You can check out the website at www.undeniableeffort.com. Pick up some apparel there if you want to help support me. We're actually working on a big launch that's going to drop in January with some pretty dope stuff. You'll probably end up seeing some of it on these videos because I'm just going to start wearing it as the samples come in. We'll put the link in the description.
Hey.
But you can support me there, or if you just want to say hi, you can message me on Instagram. I am at the dude who trains _ Brady Thistle, and I'll put that in the
We're gonna have
description.
to put that in there too. Yeah.
We'll put all the links and stuff in the description.
Yeah, for sure.
That's where you can find me.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon, go for
All
it.
right. Okay. Let's see. Got a breaking ice here. So yeah. I also have my own personal brand. Brady's actually really dope, and he's sporting some of the merch right now. But yeah, you can catch my website at bcapofitness.com. Got a little website there, little blog, videos coming through, possibly this podcast. And if you just want to chat, kind of shoot the shots, you can hit me up on Instagram, and my handle is at Capo Roth. That's just CAPOROTH. We'll also probably put that in the description down below as well. And yeah, leave it at that.
All right, guys. I think that's all we got for this week. We're just gonna do another one at another time.
Yeah.
So we don't know when we're gonna put these out yet, but from the time that this one releases, there will be another one that releases exactly 1 week after it.
Bet you bottom dollar. May the gains be with y'all.
All right. See you, everybody.
Peace.